Nagabenta ki khubor baman kasni pet but subscribe ya u Antor News. Kublai pi baro kini kilong ki khubor bamda kasni. U President ka Voice of the People Party VPP ubalongru MLE ka nongprem ba Ardent milab sayomon ulawan ra e usunyang hagadar bar sunrai autumn session ban pau halor ka jingjyllei ki drok sa ka jila Meghalaya. Ha bakaran na ka jingkya mensimu ba Ardent uang ba ka jila kala yo I mentai ka jinglut jingsep jingki babun ki samla nagadau ki narcotic drug but psychotropic substances kabala pelongru ba ka jingpur u HIV kanang jur. Ulayanu jori ka jingma jingki drugs ba ki jingjia shipai militancy badu ong ba habai ka militancy layale persha da ka iron first henry habai ka jingjyllei ki drugs pat ka Sorkar ka yat sting but klemdadan ka rukam tray ka bashai. Ulapan pau baka drug free mission 2023 jong ka Sorkar kala pulam namar man usnem ka jingkiu jong ki bangop ki nang kiu stat. Ki long yeng hamtam ki beduk ki sya shitom namar 4 don ki di addiction center ki babiang bat ka jingyarap sya ki nang nyaw ya ka jingbam drugs ru kadang duna palat. U MLA ula kentho ru ya ka jingdon ka nizax hapdeng ki drugs mafia ki pulet bat ki borsen sya. Da ka ba ong ba ki pat ba kila janmit ka jingsngokut jingmun namar ki khubor ki bami hakilat pathai khubor ki penpau ba ki drugs ki basyakem ki jujano bar ki don ka jingyesno apren ki borsen shar ba ki nong khayi drugs ula kamru ba ki tingka ki bayat lingba ka jing khayi drugs ha ka jela ki kon sya ka 1000 klor tingka shisnem. Uba Ardent ula kentho jur ya ka jingtren juk uwei umentri uba ong. Baki samla ba shushim drok ka ka jingjit shimet jungki. U MLE ong ka ka kentin kalong ka ba klem jingkit kli. Namar ka jingop drok ha Meghalaya ka sedang nadu shipos nem karta. Uang ru baki nong bam drok skila sedang ban shim ya kilinti pisa ka ba pop kum ka thok ketu bar ka penwit iki pait ba basuk jai. Ula kerpat ika Sorkar ban gantiu ya ka rukam tray thamai daga ba pendon kam da ki rukam ba pher ban penbet kat kum ka jinglong jangki nong bam drugs ban wat iki daw ki ba penkha ya ka jingjyllei drugs bat ban penklan ya ka jing pensajai ki nong khayi drugs. Ula ongru bagi benta kum ka jingja buram kariti duster ka jingbam don kam khayi bar ki jingyalang pat ba kum ki music festival kila nang pelong ya ki samla ban rung sya ka jingbam drug. Hagabakut ula penyaso ya ka jing 8 drugs bat ka jingpur stat jung HIV lane AIDS ha ka jilla. Bat udawa na ka Sorkar bakan shim ya ka ni kamat kumju ha ka jingkya kumla shim ya ka jing shipai.
I beg to move this special motion that this House will now discuss the alarming increase of drug addicts and people with HIV in the state and its impact.
Musunbo, now you may initiate the discussion.
Sir, I stand here today with a heavy heart to express my concern on this matter. And my heart bleeds to see many youths being destroyed by the narcotic drugs and psychotropic substances and the widespread of HIV and AIDS in the state. It seems that most of them are left to rot in a condition so pitiful, which I never dreamt that this kind of a situation will take place in my beloved state. So, I am here not to condemn anyone, not even the government for that matter. However, I will only put forward my submission and raise some pertinent questions. So, first of all, I would like to speak about the present approach of the government on this issue of drugs. Before I go deep into the issue, I would like to draw a comparison between the damage caused by narcotic drugs and psychotropic substances vis-a-vis the damage brought by militancy in the state and the approach adopted by the government towards these two problems. So, government has always maintained that militancy is a factor which was detrimental towards the growth and the development of the state. Militancy was viewed as a dangerous activism that can harm the state and the country as a whole. In a simple term, militancy was attributed as the main cause of creating serious law and order situation in the state and the main reason of misguiding the youth of the state from the mainstream to stand against the nation. It was therefore concluded that militancy ruined the lives of the people and brought misery to the society. Hence, the government was not taking any chance at all to go soft and dealt casually with militancy right from the beginning, sir. The state government decided that militancy should be crushed with an iron fist and determined to fight against militancy on a war footing, which has resulted in the neutralization of militancy in the state. And as a people of the state, we had witnessed the absence of serious militant activities. So, likewise, narcotic drugs and psychotropic substances are believed to be very dangerous and destructive. It has a direct bearing on human lives, the society, and the state. It brought miseries not only to the user, but to the entire family that has to undergo tremendous pressure of untold sufferings. The seriousness of the issue, sir, can be strongly felt by the number of the addicts in the state as per the latest report, which has crossed over 3 lakhs. So it is also a threat to the tribal community, since large number of our youths are falling into the trap of addiction. So, however, the measure taken by the government and the manner it dealt with this problem was not equivalent. The government in 2023 had launched a mission known as the Drug Reduction, Elimination and Action Mission, DREAM, with an aim to transform Meghalaya into a free drug state. However, sir, the ever-increasing of drug addicts in the state with each passing year is an indicative of the fact that such exercise of the government was not enough and it was proven to be ineffective. So I would like to speak on the people's perception as far as the issue of drugs is concerned. It is being perceived by the general people of the state that the state government was not at all serious in combating the menace of drugs in the state. They are of the view that methods adopted by the government to fight against this menace, which has become a nightmare to each and every family in the state, especially Khasi Jaintia region, lack seriousness and determination, sir. There have been several complaints from the relatives of the addicts that though their children are willing to start a new life, the problem that they are facing is that they cannot afford to keep their children in the rehabilitation centers because the fees are too high for those, especially who are coming from the poor family, and also expressed concern on the lack of de-addiction center in the state. Therefore, the people deserve to know how much the government had spent so far under the dream mission to curb this problem. So, a story has it that the magnitude of drugs trafficking in the state would not have been made possible without the involvement of people in power. I wonder if that is true. How on earth that people in power allowed someone to earn hundreds of crores of rupees at the expense of many precious lives and the destruction of the young generation. I was also told, sir, from the very reliable sources, that drugs business is more lucrative and more profitable, and had even surpassed the illegal transaction of coal. Surprisingly, the transaction is stated to be over 1,000 crores a month. So this government has been seen as a government that promotes mafias and racketeers. So another issue and matter of concern, which has become the popular talk of the town, is the nexus between drug mafias and the police. It was alleged that the way police seized drugs and made it vanish into thin air with the complicity of authorities concerned, and the failure of the government to disclose the data further led to a strong suspicion that connivance between drugs cartels and the officials is real. And this is what they call modus operandi. So the video surfaced in the media recently, where drugs users admitted the involvement of some police officers requires a proper and serious investigation. There is also an apprehension, sir, that if you cannot eliminate this threat, it could lead to the emergence of narco-terrorists in the state. So, as it is, people are not willing to come forward, as they don't want to unnecessarily get themselves entangled into legal procedures. True leniency of the law to deal with people involved in drugs and trafficking has further discouraged people to actively participate in the fights against the menace of drugs. As a result, and literally speaking, it can be safely said that transaction of narcotic drugs and psychotropic substances is taking place without any obstruction. So I want to come to the NDPS Act. So I fail to understand as to why people involved in drugs transaction and consumption cannot be kept behind a bar and give a jail term. I would also like to get a clarification from the government on the which provision of the narcotic, drugs and psychotropic substances which prevent the state from taking drastic action against violent drugs addicts, when the Act itself provides certain provisions as a punishment even to those who simply consume drugs that are considered to be narcotic and psychotropic substance. So Section 8 of the Act, under the Chapter 3, Prohibition, Control and Regulation. Section 8C, no person shall produce, manufacture, possess, sell, purchase, transport, warehouse, use, consume. And 8A, prohibition of certain activities relating to property derived from offense. No person conceal or disguise the true nature, source, location, disposition of any property knowing to such property is derived from the offence committed under this Act or under any corresponding law of any other country. Knowingly acquire, possess, or use any property which derived from an offence committed under this Act or under any corresponding law of any country. These provisions, I strongly felt, sir, can be applied in order to rein in these violent drug users. Section 27, it speaks about the punishment for consumption of any narcotic drugs or psychotropic substance. Whoever consume any narcotic drugs or psychotropic substance shall be punishable. Where the narcotic drug or psychotropic substance consumed is cocaine, morphine, or any other narcotic drugs or any psychotropic substance, as may be specified in this behalf by the central government by notification in the official gazette, with rigorous imprisonment for a term which may extend to 1 year, or with fine which may extend to 20,000 rupees, or with both. And B, where the narcotic drugs or psychotropic substance consumed is other than those specified in or under clause A, with imprisonment for a term which may extend to 6 months. So we have certain provisions that deal with the punishment of drugs users in the state. So the failure of the government in this regard has emboldened the drug suppliers to openly challenge any group who opposes them. The government can have, I feel, its own law, since this subject falls under the current list of the 7th schedule. So the other day, I came across a media report that carried a statement made by one of the ministers in this government, in which he said, I quote, sir, "How can they blame the government if the children are taking drugs? Can parents be blamed? It is the personal choice of the youth as they know their responsibility well," unquote. I tend to agree with this statement in the context of the report on drugs, which stated that initial stage where people get into drugs in the state of Meghalaya is 10 years old. The minister is right. How can the government take the blame for a child of 10 years old? And definitely, it is not the job of the government, but rather the duty and responsibility of the concerned parents. However, sir, when the minister is giving a sweeping statement, the minister needs to be reminded that there are not bad people only in the state. However, there are many good people also in the state. Lately, we have seen the sudden turn of events in the state where these addicts are resorting to extreme measures to get any amount of cash to meet their requirements. They are trying to harm and create a fear psychosis among the people, and even attempted forcefully to jab the innocent people, especially the young ones and the vulnerable section of society. The question here is, how can we expect that children who have been taught about values and principle and who have really led a disciplined life well within the instruction and guidance of their parents would suffer because of these violent drug users? Therefore, sir, taking into consideration all these discourses that are taking place in the public domain, one cannot help but to ask how people in power can have a sound sleep when they witness that precious lives are destroyed right under the nose of the government. So a serious question is whether the government is seriously yearning to get rid of this problem. Perhaps we can give this government a benefit of doubt when we know that the problem we are facing is not a simple problem, even though it is not a problem that cannot be solved. However, sir, when we look at what is going on in the state, we can pretend to be content, but honestly speaking, we are compelled to doubt the sincerity of the government. So I would now come to somewhat suggestions to the government in its fight against this menace. So I know that this is not the right place to discuss all the strategies to deal with this problem, because we are dealing with people who certainly have connections with the high-ups and even political leaders. It is therefore not even possible to discuss this matter freely and openly in any meeting organized by the government. We know for the fact that we can't even trust the police department completely, as there may be black sheep in the organization. So I strongly feel that the government should change the approach and strategy if it really wanted to eradicate this problem completely. I think we need to realize that there are different categories with different characteristics of drug users in the state. And therefore we need to adopt different approach and method according to the types of drug users to ensure that our fight against this problem is becoming more effective. So we also need to study the causes that led to a large-scale increase of drug addicts in the state. We cannot rule out the fact that our deviation from our own culture and way of life as a tribal community had paved way for those who are in this trade to exploit the situation. We have to understand that people are not easily drawn into drugs in a normal situation. I am sure that those who are in this business are fully aware that they need to have a proper plan and effective device to promote their business. They will zero in on a soft target. For example, people who are in grief and distress, people who are always after easy money, people who are overindulged, people who are in the habit of experimenting life. They will also take advantage of the increasing unemployment problem in the state. I'm sure they must be ready to do anything in order to expand their business. They will not, sir, leave nothing to chance to ensure that they do not miss those targets. We should keep in mind, sir, that we are dealing with a group of people who are hell-bent to get things done because for them it is a business to earn big income. So the sad reality was that the state government was being played into their hands. The policy of the government to organize music festivals and the easiest way to get access to liquor in these festivals has only furthered the increase of drugs users in the state. This is not a baseless allegation, sir, but liquor bottles and syringes were found in venues where festivals were held from time to time. That is where the place where drug peddlers are very actively involved. So I would like to speak on another issue, and that is the widespread of HIV in the state. So as a community, we used to claim that we are the people who come to this earth to earn righteousness. We are the people that knows God and knows man as well. The community that lives well within the moral compass. However, the data on drugs and HIV shows otherwise. There is no doubt that in the past, moral standard of the indigenous tribal of the state was very high and well commended by the people from outside the state. So I felt that we must have the courage to call spade a spade and should really understand the current condition and prepare to face the reality no matter how hard it is. We should not continue to live in an illusion anymore. It is also imperative to challenge the changes that have taken place in our way of life with strong determination and resolve, in order to be able to restore back the lost glory of the tribal community and rise up to the occasion to rescue the state from the present disgraceful condition. So, without any iota of doubt, I must express that if we continue with the same procedure to contain the spread of HIV, we will not be able to attain desired result. We have seen how the Meghalaya AIDS Control Society, which is the key government organization leading the fight against HIV and AIDS in Meghalaya, worked for the last 27 years. And the stress seems to be on the promotion of using a condom or protected sex, avoiding using of syringes and few other steps, which cannot draw the support and cooperation of the people. Another serious issue is the failure of the government to detect people with AIDS or HIV. So how can we fight against these diseases when we do not even know who are the people contracted with the disease? For instance, how can we prevent the spread of the disease when the wife is not aware that a husband is an HIV positive, or vice versa? When we look at the number registered with the health department, as per media report, it was quite shocking, sir. These are the numbers of people registered only, if not willingly, but accidentally. Imagine if all are made to undergo the tests to detect the disease. I will not be surprised that the numbers will increase manifold. So it is really scary to learn from the data published by the National AIDS Control Organization the status of Meghalaya as far as HIV and AIDS is concerned. According to the Sansalak 6th edition published by NACO in 2024, Meghalaya's status in HIV and STI is 0.54%, 7th highest in India against the national average of 0.22%, and 3rd in the Northeast. It was reported that there are emerging pockets of HIV/AIDS indicate STI concerns in the state of Meghalaya. The contribution towards the HIV in Meghalaya, according to the report of the Sansalak, comes from the general population, which shows that the virus is in the community itself. The reason is because the virus is allowed to spread without detection. Moreover, sir, according to the 5th edition 2023, the Sansalak Meghalaya ranked first in the prevalence of syphilis seropositivity or STIs, with 8.4%, to be followed by Mizoram by 1.something% only, sir. However, no mention was made in the 6th edition about this. Therefore, I feel that as a state, we need to know what is the current status as far as STI is concerned. So, how do we spread? How do we stop the spread of the disease when we are not in a position to know with whom we are in contact? Can we allow the disease to go silently without being noticed? I know that the argument will be, how can we compromise the dignity of people suffered with AIDS and HIV? No doubt it is a genuine concern, sir. I understand. So if we decide that the identity of the people suffered with the disease should be kept in confidential, then I don't know how we will be able to stop the spread of the disease. Even the law does not allow to disclose the identity of people living with HIV. However, sir, I feel that it would not be fair also if our concentration is too much about the dignity of a person contracted with the disease and forget about the safety of the innocent people. So it would not be wrong to say that there is a need to classify between people with HIV into two categories. That is the victim and the culprit. So what we learned from these problems was that we are facing a very peculiar situation where the wrongdoer, the criminals, gets protection, and the right and honest and innocent people have to live in fear. I, for one, would like to tell in a very categorical term, sir, that if I have to choose between protecting the right, the honest, and the innocent people, and the criminal, I would definitely choose to protect the right, the honest, and the innocent, because it is for that reason only that I've been called for, sir. It may be too hard to take a decision, sir, I understand. I strongly feel that if we really want to check the spread of the disease, the government shall have to strike a balance between the dignity of the victims and the safety of the innocent people. So we need to look at this problem from a wider perspective, sir, and adopt a holistic approach to eradicate this problem and achieve the intended goal of the government to make Meghalaya a drug-free state and reduce the number of people with HIV, sir. So to my mind, there is a misplaced priority in the campaign against the spread of the disease. We have to carefully evaluate the people's acceptance as far as the campaign is concerned. I strongly feel, sir, that the government needs to stress on positive campaign rather than negative campaign. I believe that positive campaign will yield positive result. We need to also keep in mind the mentality and the mindset of the tribal community. Therefore, sir, the priority of the campaign should be more on morality and ethical values. Instead of encouraging the people to have sex with the use of condom to prevent the spread of AIDS or HIV, it would be better to teach our children not to have sex before marriage. And this has to be the priority and the main stress in the campaign, sir. In the sideline, of course, we can also highlight the danger of careless engagement in any sexual activities that may lead into the danger of contracting HIV and AIDS. It may sound too idealistic for some people. However, I am of the firm belief, sir, that this kind of campaign will have a very good response, and the people will be more receptive to this kind of campaign. And in the long run, it will make the people to take marriage seriously with a sense of responsibility. We also need to explain and tell our children about the sanctity of marriage. I think we are all familiar with this verse in the scripture, which says that the wages of sin is death, or the outcome of sin is death. When we go deep into the problem of this problem, sir, that we are facing today, we have to admit that this is a curse that God has brought upon us. Therefore, we need to mend our ways as the community. For that there is no other better way than what it is written in the scriptures, sir, and the teaching. And that is, train up a child in the way he should go, and he will never depart from it, even when he is old. Moreover, it is also written that a young star heart is filled with foolishness, but physical discipline will drive it far away. Or foolishness is bound up in the heart of a child, but the rod of correction will drive it far away from him. Therefore, sir, it is necessary for us to understand the need to start teaching our children about good morals and values from a very young age. I am sure that none of us in this August house will teach our children or encourage them to have sex, protected sex before marriage. We may have committed mistakes in our lives, but I am sure we will never wish our children to commit the same mistake as we did, sir. I feel we need to introduce a course about marriage as an institution. As one of the syllabi in the educational institution, targeting the young minds by portraying a strong bond of family derived from a very good relation as a result of a good and strong foundational background, sir. So let us now resolve to build strong families by inculcating into the minds of our children the values, virtues, and positive character only. Remember that a nation without a character has no future, sir. I also strongly felt that young minds should not be allowed to be corrupted under any circumstances. So we may not see immediate result, but I assure this August House that the future of our state will be brighter and safer. With these submissions, sir, I wish you.
Hello, Meghalaya turns 1!
1 year ago, a small idea sparked a dream.
which materialized in the form of a screen, an OTT platform to tell stories from the heart of Meghalaya to the world, with over 3.8 lakh downloads and over 1.1 crore views. From indie creators to first-time filmmakers, Hello Meghalaya gave voices a home, a stage and a spotlight. And you, the viewers, made it all possible. 1 year down, 1,000 stories to go. Here's to more laughter, more culture, more Meghalaya.
We love Hello